everyone, and welcome to the Her Hoop Stats podcast. I'm Chelsea Late, joined by Tyler DeLuca for a fun Tuesday episode of our WNBA podcast. We come at you Monday to Friday on Her Hoop Stats, so make sure to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you're listening, and make sure to check us out on social media as well, and our herhoopstats.com database as well. Tyler, we may have some new listeners this week because I low-key was advertising our podcast at a party on Saturday.
That's what I'm talking about. That's boots on the ground. That's working.
Yeah, boots on the ground, out on a Saturday night. You know, you're mingling. People are like, what do you do for work? And then I tell them, they're like, wow, that's so interesting. I'm like, I'm on a podcast. You want to give it a listen? Or when people start talking about podcasts, then I just kind of drop in that I host a few. So I was doing the work for Her Hoop Stats. Shout out, Aaron, if you're listening. I was doing some boots on the ground advertising. But anyway, we're going to get into the weekend's WNBA extravaganza. I mean, yesterday, Cindy and Jamie talked a little bit about athletes themselves, you know, Athletes Unlimited, how some of their players are doing. And so today we thought that we would just kind of dive into some of the biggest stories of the weekend and honestly just like yap about our thoughts, because if Tyler and I are going to bring anything to this podcast, it's a take, you know, some tea. So we're going to get into that. But immediately when we, you know, came on this call, Zoom, whatever you want to call it, StreamYard, we were both like, we need to talk about the Vegas and Golden State game from the weekend because wild. Like in the sense that like, were we expecting that? No. Was it entertaining? Yes. So let's get into Golden State this week. I mean, I know you're a little preoccupied with the NBA finals, but you know, give me your lowdown on how Golden State was able to just kind of like come in and deliver that upset.
It's about effort. Like, like not to like oversimplify it, but like, yeah, to kind of oversimplify it was effort. it was energy. Like, and when this roster started forming, and that was like the key thing. Like, if there was like kind of a characteristic that kind of strung together all of this roster, like no matter what you can truly do, like on the court, if you're a 3-point shooter, if you're a big, like whatever that kind of form that takes, I feel like every player on this team was willing to just get after it, was willing to fight for it. And like that is something that, and Becky Hammond herself was kind of saying it, Vegas is lacking right now. And they kind of got punched in the mouth with it and just were never able to return a punch at all. And when I think about, again, like as this team was forming, I looked at like the Kayla Thorntons, the Monique Billings, like those type of players that have been able to be mainstays on rosters in the WNBA just based on, more than anything to me, their energy and their willingness to be that type of player and to do the dirty work. And to me, you go and get them as your vets. That is the characteristics that you are hoping become embedded into this roster this year and for the franchise in the years to come. And to me, that's what we're seeing happening. And that was the biggest difference in this game. Like, yes, like players performed well. They did their thing. They scored the ball. You know, there's the details of it. But if that was just to describe it in one word, it truly would just be the effort that was shown. I can't commend enough, like just how good the Valkyries' effort was. And on the flip side, just not enough from Vegas. Like it seemed like they were kind of sleepwalking through that entire game.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the big buzz quote that came out of Becky Hammond's thoughts from that game was just like, you can't, I'm probably not quoting it right, but like, you can't coach effort. And she was just kind of like, I can try to do everything else and I can, you know, write up plays or do whatever, but you can't coach effort. And that just kind of ended up going around. But I mean, I've been so impressed with this Valkyries team as well. I think they're kind of just embracing their identity as like this underdog new team that nobody really knows about. And you have all these players coming in from overseas that, again, like nobody really has played in the WNBA. And so they've embraced that identity as these like, not only is the team the new kids on the block, but the actual players are. Yeah. And when you think about who they brought in, like Kayla Thornton, Monique Billings, it's those people that had never really been given that shot to be a star player or a starter or got like that full roster spot on the team or that full starter spot. And so it's just kind of a collection of those people. And I mean, they're like supplementary players, and their young players as well have been just like coming up when needed. I mean, Julie Vanloo can shoot the ball.
Mhm.
My namesake Carla Late was making
Mm.
some big plays over the weekend,
How
and
about Veronica Burton?
yeah, and
Veronica
Burton.
Burton has been like, and to me, like, I'm not surprised by it. Like, I've been a Burton truther like over her
Yeah.
time in the WNBA, but like it feels like this team specifically, like in the characteristics of this team, just like fit
Mhm.
her so well, and like what she excels at is what this team wants to excel at,
Yep.
and it's allowing other parts of her game to open up because of the importance and emphasis put on the things that she already is very very good at, which again is that to me just that energy, that defense, like those type of things.
Yep.
And I love the idea of, and I hope that this kind of becomes a trend as we expand into further teams as well. These
Mhm.
players that, yeah, like maybe they've been like the ninth or 10th player on a roster and just
Yep.
haven't got the opportunity to go and shine. And I hope that we continue
Mhm.
to kind of see this trend of players that were in that spot and then now kind of get put more into a spotlight, give him more responsibility,
Especially with the
and take it and run
expansion
with it.
coming.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right. That's what I'm hoping becomes a trend. Like I hope whether it be Toronto or Portland, whatever teams come next, like kind of take this blueprint and make it. Just because I think one, it's smart, and I also just think
Mhm.
it's very fun to watch from a consumer perspective.
I agree, and I mean, the fact that we've always said that WNBA rosters are so small and there's not enough
Mm,
spots in the league, so, like, those fringe players on those rosters who are always fighting to make that ninth, 10th, 11th, if there's even a 12th spot, like,
mhm,
those are the players that are gonna be so motivated to play for your team, so motivated to prove that they, can be a great role player or a starter, and they're still very talented because at
yeah,
the end of the day, like, this is the best women's basketball league in the world, and these players are so good regardless of them not being able to make a team. And I mean, now the Valkyries get back Letitia Amahir, who again, like, huge for them as well. There was outrage when she got cut on the last day of camp, and because of Eurobasket and just roster
yeah,
construction, she's able to come back now. So that's going to be a huge perk for them as well. Get someone who can give you depth in that kind of like 3-4 position that she plays, and someone who brings a lot of effort. Again, was never really given the chance in Atlanta to really thrive. Comes now to Golden State, another great international player. She played great in Australia last, like during the off season. And I mean, players that have played with her in Team Canada. I mean, she's always just been that person who's come off the bench, sometimes playing that sixth woman role for Canada, but just brings energy, is able to get rebounds, score, get to the line. And so, like, yeah, this identity of these underdog players who haven't been given the chance to shine and now with expansion are doing so. And I think it's just like a really fun trend that's going to prove to Golden State again is these underdogs, and everybody thought like, oh, they're going to be the worst team in the league. They're going to be the worst team in the league, but they're not. Like, they're very steadily in that like last playoff spot contention
mm.
as we go throughout the season, and if they continue on this trend. So yeah, it's just like fun to watch. I think those teams are really fun to watch. Where again, it's like Washington, where the expectation isn't that high, but because they're exceeding that expectation, it's just fun for everyone involved.
Yeah, no, I think one notably, and I want this to be clear, you do not want that last playoff spot. I'm gonna make
No.
that clear. You better be in that. You better be in that lottery. If
Hmm.
I just that needs to
Nope.
be known.
Yep. I
Like
know. Yep.
you don't gotta tell. Like, look, I'll say the T word. I'm not saying this team needs to tank. However, comma,
Well,
I
you think
mean,
about being that last playoff spot this season, you miss out on a top 5 pick, and then you also miss out on a 6 and 7 pick because Toronto and Portland are very
that's
likely
what
gonna get
I'm
those picks.
saying. You do
Or
not want
so then you
to
get bumped
miss
to
the
8.
lottery. Like that, the worst place you could possibly be this year is the last playoff spot.
Yep.
Because realistically, you're probably running through a bus off one of those top two teams in Minnesota and New York, and you're not in the draft lottery. I don't want to be there. It's no man's land. That's the worst place you could possibly be. And I think it's
Yeah.
important, especially for Golden State, because what they're building here is I'm actually becoming very intrigued
Mhm.
because we had heard like when the expansion, like as it was like kind of like in the works and happening and everything about like the 5-year plan from the ownership of Golden State to try and win a championship in 5 years. So we're like, okay, buddy, sure.
Mhm.
And then, but like the more I think about it, and I'm not saying like I think it's going to happen, but in terms of like the possibility of making it happen, you have an identity that you're forming now.
Mhm.
You have players that are cheap right now that are contributing very well.
Yep.
You have all the facilities.
Mhm.
You have all the cap space you could possibly need.
Yep.
And that crowd is legit in Golden State. Valhalla, fire.
Valhalla bumping.
Valhalla is fire. So like when I think about
Put
like
your
checking
V's
all
up.
the boxes, like when I think about checking all the boxes of like what as a free agent, like I
Yeah.
would want from especially like in this new era of the WNBA where facilities are so
Mhm.
important and things of that nature and there's a very clear
And even
hierarchy. Like
even just like city as like market, like
I'm
San Francisco is a
I'm
fantastic
I'm
place
not
to
saying like all I'm thinking is like if you go and you go get one of these top players, and then maybe it's not this immediate free agency, but like you probably hope so because the way that contracts are going to be signed after this year, after the
Yep.
CBA, if you're able, like if you told me that Golden State leaves this next year with like a legitimate, very very good star player that comes in and joins this team, and then they go and make the playoffs next year,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not saying it's likely,
No,
but
and
the
I'm not
makeup
even
of it is there.
they don't even need a top 10 player, like a top 20 player
Like,
in the league. Like, if you get a top 20 player in the league to come to Golden State and like I mean, we can argue about I would need a list in front of me to be able
mm,
to actually give accurate names, but like you think about one, again, you can pay them the most out of everybody probably vying for them.
mm,
You have, again, facilities playing in San Francisco. You have, pair them with Kayla Thornton and Monique Billings and these young players and like Carla Lake, Julie Vanley, whatever,
yeah,
whatever. Um, then you get a good draft pick come in as well. Like hopefully you're in the lottery, you're in contention for a Flauge or an AZ Fudd or the list goes on and on for next year. A Lauren Betts, a Kiki
mhm,
Rice, whatever, whatever. Um, and then like you have like this very good solid core of again the players that we're talking about that are there this year, a star or two, a top 20, maybe even like a top 30 player, like two in that mix.
mhm,
You're a good competitive team.
yeah,
And like that's exciting to think about, especially with expansion. Like I think expansion, some people are like, oh, like 5-10 years. But no, you could like expedite that really quick. And I think
yeah.
not to be biased about Toronto, but I do think that Toronto could, see that as a blueprint and be able to take that as well and be able to attract, some good players to come here, work the draft. I don't know. It's
Yeah,
exciting.
and Portland, you're not allowed to be in this conversation until you tell us anything about yourselves. I don't know
Yeah,
your
give us
name, I
a
don't know your
name.
logo, I don't know your colorway, I don't wanna hear nothing about you
Nope.
until you keep us updated. I don't know what's going on there, but I
Yep.
haven't
Give us
heard
a name.
anything. Until then, like, you are
You're
struggling to
done.
exist in my brain.
Struggling. Yeah. Like I'm not calling
I
you the
need you
Portland WNBA expansion team for any
like,
longer.
I'm like, this is not Portland Basketball
At
Club.
this point,
Like
we're gonna have 2 leaks in a year because I'm like,
like
what are we doing
I'm
here?
I'm like I don't even do investigative journalism. It might be time. It might be
Yeah,
time.
might be time.
Someone has to
It might
step
be
in
time.
and do something. Because
We
what
gotta
are
go
we
to
doing?
Portland.
How do we not know what's happening here? But yeah, no, I think the blueprint is there and like the excitement
Mhm.
is there. And again, there's like I'm as I think about it, I'm like, damn, like what makes a good free agent destination?
All
Golden
those
State
things.
kind of has it all right now. And
Sick
like if
colorway.
like look, come on now, like
Good
I,
court.
yeah, if only there was this much positivity in Vegas right now, because
Mm,
there's on
mm,
the other side of it,
segue.
there's not. Come on now, like
Nah,
it's not good.
it's not the vibe.
It's not
Just,
good.
I'll hop and a skip over to Nevada and the vibes, decimate
Yeah.
from there. But yeah, the other side of that great Golden State win was, of course, a terrible Las Vegas Aces loss, where yeah, again, like Becky Hammon was just like lack of effort. And when we talk about the Aces this year, I mean, last year was kind of a vibe of like, okay, Chelsea Gray isn't doing very well, but Asia Wilson is playing, historic level hoops
Hmm.
and like with the current landscape of nobody really expected Minnesota to kind of come out and people were like, okay, like Vegas still has a shot.
Hmm.
It's gonna be harder. It's not gonna be like a thing like it has been the past 2 years, but like the three-peat hopes were alive. This year, I'm like, you might not even get home court advantage when you think about the playoffs. You like, what are you doing in Asia Wilson's prime? What is happening there? And I know, like, we have thoughts on this. Like, we'll get into it,
Oh,
but
I
like,
have plenty. Don't worry.
we have to. I'm gonna start like the I guess the title of this if you watch online, you see that our producer Brian puts little I don't know what they're called.
Lower thirds.
Yeah.
On
Yeah,
the
lower
ticker.
third.
Yeah.
There you go. The
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
CNN
On the
scrolling
ticker.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like my first one would be like, stop wasting Asia Wilson's prime. Cause it's like, what first of all, she's record breaking season last year. Then she's currently in the 99th percentile still, averaging about 22 points per game this season.
Seems good.
So seems good. Not as good as last year, obviously, but like still fantastic. You can't really compare to last year. 3-time MVP. She's leading the Las Vegas Aces in points per game, rebounds per game, assists per game, steals per game, and blocks per game. As a 4-5 player, technically kind of a 5 because they really wears their 5. So like, the fact that you're making a 28-year-old, soon to be 29-year-old, because we're the same age, so shout out Asia Wilson, do all of this for your team, just for them to still be like 4th, 5th in the standings. Like, what? She's gonna burn out. Like, that's not sustainable in a 44-game season, plus the playoffs that are longer than ever before. And like, the idea, like, if I'm thinking about Asia Wilson specifically, I'm like, get the girl some help, blow it up. Where are you going in the off season? We were talking about this before we started recording. It's like the 3 biggest free agents, obviously, when you think about it, because Caitlin Clark is not a free agent next season. Brianna Stewart, Nafisa Collier, and Asia Wilson. I don't see Brianna Stewart going anywhere. She's locked into New York. As much as she may say, whatever, things are open, but whatever. Nafisa Collier, not leaving for Minnesota. They drafted her. She's there, whatever. They're going to throw whatever bag at her. Asia Wilson seems like the most probable player out of those top 3 to move somewhere in free agency next season. And that just automatically makes her the biggest free agent in the entire league, obviously. And so teams are going to be throwing, and I don't know what the bag is going to look like next season because the CBA, but like they're going to be throwing whatever they can at her to try and get her to come and leave the Aces. And a month or 2 ago, I would have said never. But now when you think about the fact that this is happening in Vegas and the fact that we don't know what their team is going to look like next season, that everything seems just like nothing's clicking there. It's like, if I were her, I'd be like, yeah, I'm in my prime. Where am I going to win a championship right now? Or where's my best shot? And if that's Vegas, sure, that's Vegas. But there's other options now.
No, there's certainly like a non-zero chance. Like at this point, like I don't know like what the dialogue is behind the scenes or anything, but like at some point something has to change. And if Vegas isn't going to change, then Asia Wilson should.
Yeah.
And like I can't. Frankly, it's hard for me to fathom the fact that we're actually having like effort dialogue about the Las Vegas Aces, because the thing is, you are either a part of the core 4 who have been there, done that, and know what it takes to win, or for the most part, you are a younger player that is trying to like cut your teeth in the league. At no point across either of those, just based on the standard that there should be in Vegas over these past 5 years, if you will, like, and like what the standard has been set, the fact that we are having effort dialogue is very problematic. And I truly think part of this, to me, and like not that this was like we had some of this dialogue last year, but I think people just simply underrated what Kelsey Plum brought to this franchise.
True.
Because it was never going to be as simple as a 1-for-1 switch for anyone with Kelsey Plum. And like, especially like Jewel Lloyd has continued to struggle. It's like you're getting 9 points per game on 29.4% shooting. That is not just like individually
for your number 2
bad,
option.
Like that's physically hurting the team.
Yep.
Like, and
Well,
and also you're taking away the effort that like, there's one thing you never had to worry about with Kelsey Plum, and that was effort.
mhm.
Like, for whatever, like, detriments, like,
Oh,
that she had, like, there were certainly, like, drawbacks at times, like, where maybe you felt she was doing too much on the offensive end, and there was times where she was not, like, I'm not claiming that she was some lockdown defender by any means, but the one thing you never, ever questioned about Kelsey Plum was effort. And then seeing some of, like, the comments that have been made in press conferences, mostly from Becky Hammon, about, like, I remember specifically, like, there was the one where it's like, "We don't need dogs because we got wolves," or something like that, and I'm like, "That feels targeted." Like, I know everyone keeps saying that stuff is peachy, but, like, that felt weird. That felt
yeah,
a bit direct. And,
yeah.
like, but where are the wolves?
Where the wolves
Where
well,
are the
okay.
wolves?
Let's take so I have the, Las Vegas team statistics open on her hoop stats right now. So this is a team that has led the league in offense for the past, I'd say, 3 seasons in the
Mhm,
Becky Hammon era. Has and the reason that they've won these championships or have been in the contention is because of that offense, right?
mhm.
So per our her hoop stats database, the Aces are currently 8th out of 13 in the league for points per game.
Not good.
They rank 12 out of 13 for field goal percentage with 39.2%.
Not good.
They ranked 13th out of 13th for 2-point percentage at 42.2% when you have Asia Wilson on your team, which is
Not good.
wild.
Mhm,
Not good. They rank 9th out of 13 in the league for effective field goal percentage. So that basically, like, when you put in the strength or like how much 3-point shots matter
mhm,
2 points.
mhm.
So 9th out of 13 in the league for that. They
Also
rank
not good.
7 out of 13th in the league for points per play,
Mhm,
0.89 points per play, which is not good.
mhm.
And then when you think about, like, rebounding on a team where you have Asia Wilson and, someone like Kia Stokes, 12th out of 13th in the league for total rebound rate,
Mhm,
11th out of 13 in the league for offensive rebound rate.
mhm.
They also are last in the league, 13th in assists per game,
Mhm.
12th out of 13th for assisted shot rate per game. And then when you think about team scoring totals, which is like its whole section here, uh, 13th in the league in field goals made, field goals attempted, 2-pointers made, and 12th in the league in 2-pointers attempted. Also 12th
Yeah.
in the league in free throws attempted, which
Mhm,
is not fully on them, obviously, because,
mhm.
that's kind of a reffing thing as well, but we won't get into that. Um, Completely just like last in the league when it comes to total rebounds, assists, offensive rebounds, defensive rebounds, restricted area field goals, restricted area field goal percentage, mid range field goal percentage. Like, I could go on and on because our
I'm
obviously
I'm
our
gonna I'm gonna go out on a
database.
limb here. Things aren't good in Vegas.
No,
That's what I know. It might come off as a hot take after hearing all those stats, but things are not good. And
and
I
like,
just it was
I
you
mean,
yeah.
like,
Go
shout
ahead.
out to
Go
our
ahead.
great people who put all these
Mhm,
stats together on our Her Hoop stats team because these pages are legit. They go into everything. And when you think about, so then they show the rostered players. And if you have a Her Hoop stats subscription, like, good stuff is put in green and like bad stuff is put in red. And like, you look at the roster and Asia Wilson's entire stat line, except for her 3-point percentage, which she's never been a big 3-point
mhm,
shooter, is all in green.
mhm.
Everybody else is
When
not.
people talked about Vegas putting red back into the uniform, this is not what they meant.
Not what they meant.
And yeah, no, it's. I mean, again, like I don't, and frankly, I don't know if there's an answer this season. I
That's
simply
the
don't
thing.
see it because, like, you were banking on the fact that Jewel Lloyd was going to return to Stewie and Sue teammate form.
Mm.
That hasn't shown up at all this year, and it really hasn't the past couple years. So, like, it was again,
Big
like, it
word
was
was
just
on the
it was
court.
like, yeah, right, like, it's just Jewel Lloyd is, like, who she is, like, as a player. Like, you kinda know, like, there's just a certain kinda archetype of guard in the WNBA where it's like they are high scorers, but, like, there's gonna be off nights, and you live with that because of how good that they are at their best.
Yeah.
Right now, you haven't even come close to seeing Jewel Lloyd's best, and I don't know if there is any particular way for Vegas to unlock that this season that can make them bounce back, because right now you are on the same exact. I actually feel like they are on a worse path, because last year it felt like they understood pretty early on that this isn't working this season. Like, for whatever reason, like, this is not working this season, and they kind of like punted on last season. Like, all right, we'll take it to next year. We'll figure it out. Like, Asia Wilson was very clearly burnt out. Like, the vibes were not good. But you already made your move now. You traded Kelsey Plum. So for whatever this iteration, this era of Las Vegas is, with this kind of core player, like, obviously KP has now moved on, but like this core 4 idea when it comes to Vegas, the era seems like it's just simply coming to an end. And like, it kind of times out well with the CBA as well, where you kind of can just like start mixing and mashing, and hopefully Asia Wilson is down to come along on that ride with you. But right now, I simply don't know what the fix is in the immediate present.
You know what my
for
fix
effort,
would be?
huh?
Bring back Sue Bird.
Okay, well, I don't think that's happening.
She's on her podcasting beat now.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah,
our peer and colleague in the podcasting space is Sue Bird.
Yeah, sure, I guess. Yeah, no, you can't coach effort.
No,
but like,
and
maybe you could scheme some open shots or something. I don't know.
The thing with Jewel Lloyd coming into the mix is that, like, Jewel Lloyd is supposed to be this team's second scoring option. You think about when she was at her peak and her best, and it was those years of Sue Bird and Breanna Stewart being 1 and 2 for Seattle, and Jewel Lloyd being able to play freely as the third option and just, like, chuck up her shots and whatever, not have to think too much about the game in general, because you had Stewie and Sue who were doing that for you. And I mean, this isn't like a dig on Jewel Lloyd, whatever. It's like, how you play is how you play. But like, being able to play freely in that sense, where she didn't have the pressure on her, worked for that team. And I think now she's in Vegas, the pressure is on, because she was supposed to be the big thing that came in and changed their problems from last year. Now she's supposed to be the number 2 scoring option, is not. We were looking it up, and Jackie Young and Chelsea Gray are ahead of her.
Both averaging more points, yeah.
Exactly. And like, not saying that that's like a bad thing, but like, Jewel Lloyd is supposed to be your second. And so that's just like, it's just not working. And it's very apparent very early on. The team doesn't play very good defense. I mean, I could go down on the other side of the stat thing. And it's just as bad. So like, the defensive effort, there's a lot of red, let's just say, when it comes to their defensive side. And so that is just like, in years past, they could kind of aid that with the fact that they were playing really good offense, but the fact that they're not, it's just abundantly clear. And I mean, their absolute gap at the 5 spot, which I feel like I've talked about in every single podcast this month, so I won't get too into it, but like, and I guess like with players like Candace Parker and Elena Deladon, et cetera, retiring, like our crop of elite number 5 post player. I mean, Elena Deladon wasn't technically number 5, or neither was Candace Parker. But like that, like, post player depth in the league is lower, obviously, and so like maybe they couldn't really. Well, I'm getting too armsy right now. They couldn't really like find someone to fill the need of, and I mean, Megan Gustafson being injured is obviously a big thing to their front court depth, but
Cheyenne
like
Parker Tyus as well being out.
Yeah, Cheyenne Parker Tyus being out, having her baby, which congrats. But yeah, it's just not helping their front court depth.
I just don't. Frankly, if either one of those players were healthy, like do I think Vegas could be better? Sure.
Yeah, but it's not.
I don't think that's like the true issue here. Like again, like if you have your coach this early on into the season talking about effort, vibes, like it feels like we are repeating what happened last year, but there wasn't even like the level of optimism of like, oh, we'll figure out in the playoffs, which is like what there was last year. I don't even really feel that right now. No. And that's problematic. If I'm a Vegas fan.
Then you think about the fact 4 more games in the season this year. Asia Wilson was burnt out at the end of last year. Not even talking about this. Now she literally leads the team in the major statistical categories. And I mean, then you have a longer season. Asia Wilson is doing everything. Jewel Lloyd isn't doing what Kelsey Plum was even doing last year. The defense isn't there. They don't have front court depth.
Not
it's
good.
rough. Not good.
Not good.
Not
That
good.
is my expert analysis of Vegas.
Yeah.
Hashtag not good.
And it all
Hashtag analysis.
started when Candace Parker decided to retire, so we just need Candace Parker to come back. I'm just trying to get all the
Let's
greats
say,
back.
is that
I'm
what
like,
we're
come
trying to
on. I miss that. I miss Bird, Taurasi, Parker, like
Mm.
Deladon. Like I'm still in my feels about all of them retiring one after the other after the other. But yeah, I mean, the point is here that Vegas is rough, and there's these other teams that are scrappy and slept on. You have Phoenix, you have Seattle. I mean, people have been saying stuff about Seattle, but Seattle to me looks better than Vegas has looked, and that is intriguing given the
Yeah,
situation.
I think that's fair. Probably, I think Seattle at their best have looked better.
At their best.
They've been a
Rocky.
little bit more inconsistent, like up and down.
Up and down,
Whereas Vegas has been
down.
just kind of down.
Yeah.
like for the
Gabby
most part.
Williams, career high in every major statistical category. Skylar Diggins is playing great. Nneka Ogwumike,
There's certainly more optimism around Seattle, if nothing
Exactly.
else. If nothing else, you are seeing the vision of like, okay, I see how this could happen. Like if you can make a run, like the framework for it is there. Right now with Vegas, your framework for a championship is, oh hey, we have Asia Wilson, which is like normally a pretty good argument.
Yeah.
Not with this roster, not right now.
5 people on a basketball team to be playing at the same time, not one. And then you also think about teams like Phoenix that has surprised me quite a lot. Atlanta has been surprising, especially given at the beginning of the season we were yelling about how you don't know how it's going to work.
Make sense. Yeah.
And now it kind of is starting to. So
shout out to them.
Shout out to them.
Shout out to them.
And like all of these teams that are so desperate to get up into that high tier of teams, if Vegas, again, if we're going back to effort, they're not putting in the effort that these other teams are. And, you know, the talent might not be on a similar level, but like hard work's going to beat talent every time. I mean, that's kind of a niche cliche saying, but like it's true, especially when it comes to a sport like basketball.
From world famous movie Thunderstruck with Oklahoma City Thunder. I was gonna say legend. I don't know what I want to call Kevin Durant, but you know,
guy one time.
Yeah, former MVP is what we'll
former MVP.
Still hurts.
Yeah, you're still hurting from the other day too, but they recovered. So
don't worry, we're back.
We're back. It's even new series. We're still back. Oh man, I mean, heading into this week is definitely going to be interesting when we think about the WNBA. Like we're in the Commissioner's Cup now, so like whatever. But like you think about the fact that we're heading into the halfway point, which it seems so soon to be talking about, but All-Star is in about a month. Like right now it's June 10th. All-Star is July 18th, so like 5-ish weeks away.
Yeah.
And like that's kind of like the universal halfway point. And if you don't have it figured out by then, it's rough. And I mean, other teams like not to get on the Indiana train, but like, you know, not to want to say we need to rush back Caitlin Clark because we don't, but like they're kind of worrying me at times, especially when she's not playing. Because it's another thing where you can't put all of your eggs into one player basket. It's the same thing. Whereas say like Asia Wilson had to step out for the Aces, like not good. So that's kind of what we're seeing in Indiana. And so we're coming to like a very crucial part of the season that seems unimportant because it's June and everybody's just still thinking that we're getting into the swing of things. But like if you're not established by All-Star break, there's not much time to climb the standings after. So I mean, we didn't like, I don't know, there's different teams we could get into in terms of like it looks worse than we thought it was going to look, but like these top like second tier teams need to figure it out very fast because All-Star break is coming quick. And from there it's just, I mean, it's going to be barrel rolling to the playoffs. And not to like, you know, wish away the summer fast, but it's just the way it is. Before we head out, I want to get your opinion on something.
Oh God! No. I don't know what this is.
First, this is a 2-part question.
Okay.
The first part is which team out of Minnesota and New York stays undefeated faster or longer? Sorry.
Okay.
And how long? Like how many games do they win in a row before they lose?
Ooh. Okay. Well, let me look. I got the schedule pulled up here. So
yeah.
Today, when we're recording this, New York has yet to play Chicago, which is tonight. New York should beat Chicago.
Yeah.
Minnesota at Seattle is an interesting one.
Mhm.
And then they both play Saturday, which is
Indiana.
LA at Minnesota, New York at Indiana. So it's like kind of TBD on if Caitlin Clark is back because obviously we
Yeah.
saw how that game, the first game with New York went. Like I mean, it was right there
Mhm.
for the taking for Indiana. Ooh, I mean, ah, goodness. I mean, so the Minnesota plays back at Seattle on Wednesday. Like they're looking in the next week, of a New York at Indiana again. So like, there's a couple. I think I might go.
And
It's hard
Seattle
to
and
call
Minnesota
because
have already played twice.
that's what I'm saying. So like, I want to. I feel like if I was to pick, I would say Seattle probably taking one of those games off Minnesota.
Okay.
If we get a good Seattle, but if Caitlin Clark comes back and is like just immediately like hitting the ground running, like that could absolutely be it too. So like, I honestly feel like they're on like a pretty similar pace of like, I mean, obviously like the dates are different, but like in
Yeah.
terms of like the possibility of losing either one of these games, like
Yeah.
to me, it's two teams that have been a bit rocky for different reasons, but in Seattle and Indiana, and like if either of them catch a good day against either one of these teams, like it's absolutely a possible loss
Mhm.
for either one of these teams. But yeah, I guess I'd say Minnesota. Just like I think just more so just based on like the schedule of like the
Mhm.
actual dates themselves of when these teams play. But I think when Caitlin comes back, I could very much see it just being a very major positive boost for Indiana
Yeah.
that could take them over the top, assuming that she's like fully back, like no minutes restriction, like those type of things, and
Yeah.
like is full go. I could see that pushing Indiana over the top of New York, but I think I'd probably say Minnesota, but they're pretty even to me in like how I'm viewing these next couple of matchups.
Yeah, I mean, the update on Caitlin Clark yesterday was that she hadn't been cleared for basketball activities, but she
Mhm,
was cleared to begin ramping up again. So
mhm,
that leaves Saturday as a very like, maybe, maybe not in
mhm,
terms of
mhm.
playing. And if she does, like maybe a minutes restriction, which I don't think she or the Fever would like at all,
No.
given how much she means to that team when she's on the court. And then when you think about the streak, so I looked it up this morning. The longest undefeated streak in WNBA history to start a season was in 2016. Can you guess who it was?
Probably Minnesota.
Yeah, it was the Minnesota Lynx
Yeah,
in 2016. They went
yeah.
13-0 with Maya Moore and Sylvia Fowles, of course, and that was the longest undefeated streak to begin the season in WNBA history. So both of these teams are kind of climbing up and like getting to a
Mhm.
point where they could either meet or break that record. And so I wanted to throw it out there just because that's like a fun, interesting fact that is coming up because these
Yeah,
teams they're looking good. They're dominant.
look
They know how
great.
to win, and it's definitely gonna be interesting as these scheduling things come up to see. And I mean, they're also on track to face each other for the Commissioner's Cup too, which would be our
Mhm.
first look at them of this season. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see if they can stay undefeated another week.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah,
mean, it's kinda been that's kinda been the mark. I mean, we're approaching history, so, like,
exactly.
it'd be kinda crazy if I don't think there's any chance, surely, that both these teams are undefeated by the time we see them play, but that would be so fire. Like,
That
if,
would
like,
be
in the
so fun.
Commissioner's Cup, if both of them haven't lost yet, I don't think there's any like, that would be ridiculous for that to
Ridiculous,
happen, but, like,
but like so
that would be so
fun.
cool. Yeah, it'd be
It
really
would
cool.
be really fun. And, like, if they played earlier, because they don't play in the regular season until, like, July
It's
31st,
yeah, it's
but,
after
like,
All-Star break.
if they say they played, like, this week or next week and they were both undefeated,
It'd
go,
be so
"Oh,
fire.
that would be
Could
so
all
hype."
be so simple, but
It'd all be
alas.
so simple, but here we are. Anyways, that's the end of our episode for today. Make sure to subscribe to Her Hoop Stats here on YouTube or wherever you're listening to our podcast. Make sure to subscribe to herhoopstats.com as well for all of the stats. As I was firing them off earlier, you can access all of that yourself if you
Mm,
want. And follow us on Blue Sky, Instagram, and Twitter/X as well, where you can find Tyler and I as well on social media where we love to yap. But thanks so much for watching. We will see you again tomorrow here on the Her Hoop Stats podcast.